let's go for this one here. So over on Twitter, there's D&D Nanth, I think is how you'd say that, who has asked, what questions do you ask of new players? I guess this is sort of leading into session 0 sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, tough question. I think a lot of people make this sound really easy, session 0 stuff, but I've done a lot of session 0s, and I can tell you they are not as easy as people make them sound. People often don't know what they don't know, so they can't really tell you until you're 10 sessions in, and you don't always know what to ask. And so, great question. What questions do you ask of new players? New players, I've taught over 50 people how to play D&D 5th edition. I added them up once. And so usually I just ask them, do you want to play D&D? And that's about it. And if they're a new player, I think that's a cherished time where they're not bogged down by mechanics. And so it's all about just, do you want to play D&D? And then when they want to play, what kind of character do you want to make? I recommend playing something simple and not getting right into spellcasting, because there's a lot of reading for you to do. Like, make it about them, instead of just saying, like, I don't think you can handle a spellcaster. Then they'll be like, then I will play a spellcaster, you know? But if you make it like, you're gonna have to do a lot of reading, and I don't know if you have time for that. If you do, great, but set this expectation of like what kind of characters they want to make, and then encourage them to like read the rules if they want, but they can learn along the way. Like, that really is like a cherished time, because when you know the rules and how D&D works, it kind of changes the way you play, whether you notice it or not. I play very different from when I was brand new, and I was like, can I stealth now, DM? Can I sneak attack him in the throat or something like that? And the DM's like I want to say yes, but I don't want you to just insta kill everyone, like, you know, like, so. But that's fun for players to kind of figure out how things work and see how you handle things as a DM. So I guess back to the question. Do you want to play D&D? What sounds fun to you? When can you play? That's how I feel. I'd also ask, like, is this something you want to do long term, or do you want it to keep like set an expectation also for duration? You know, because some people, when they hear 10 sessions, 10 months, you know, whatever, they maybe didn't realize that sort of stuff. So some of those things that we kind of know are inherent to talk about when we've been playing D&D for a while, new players may have no idea of certain things, like how long a session is, what duration they need to commit to, or what they even are committing to. Like, how much are they committing to read? You know, how much as a DM do you need them to know the rules? And so it also comes down to you as a DM a little bit, right? Like, one, it's your job, I think, to make sure everyone has fun. That includes you and your players. Some people try to make it like binary, like either the DM just does what they want and the players can take it or leave it, or you should not care about what you want as a DM and just do what players think. I think you should do both, and I think you can. And so it comes down to, what do you want as a DM, and is there anything that's like a deal breaker? Then yeah, go ahead and ask them. Like, I have some friends who run very hyper political campaigns, and there's a lot of role play and like negotiation stuff, or trying to be mindful of different factions. And if someone's like, I don't want to try to remember all that, or I don't know anything about politics, I just want to get some loot. If you're recruiting for a group that's already running and you know that is not the style, then you could even just say, do you want to sit on a session once and just observe? Most people don't like watching RPGs, even like Shrike and I were talking about. We only have so much time in a day, and D&D, it takes a long time. And so just watching it is not the most fun. And so, but if you're new and maybe you want to do an observation, that would be fun too. So I just gave a lot of suggestions, and a lot of them may not be what exactly you thought I was going to go to. But I think those are the high level, like, questions you should be asking these people, because they're usually your friends. But if they're strangers, you can ask different things, right? There's a lot of question marks behind what kind of questions I would ask a player.
Yeah, I think that what you pointed out there, and it's a good way to think about it, is just learning or managing their expectations. I think is what you need to do with whatever questions it is you ask that you're asking of them. So yeah, how long are the sessions? When do they need to turn up? How much reading do they need to do? They're all good ones to just get the ball rolling, because I've had it happen once where I didn't do that well enough, and someone turned up and played D&D for 3 sessions for us and didn't realize how involved it was, and then ended up dropping out because they were like, "Oh, I just thought, I was gonna like just go play Skyrim for a bit and then go," and that's not what D&D is always like. Obviously, it will be for some people. Just to finish it off as a bit of an extension to this, because I think this is something that new players struggle with as well. If you've got a new player that is struggling to work out what they would like to play, do you have any tips for that? So they're not sure what class they want to play, they're not sure what race they want to play because they've not experienced D&D. They don't actually know what that means. So Warlock, for example, you could read what a Warlock is and all the rules, but if you've never played D&D, you're not actually going to understand most of it.
Yeah, so there's a few things with race and lineage. You could say, do you want to explore the nuances of being a different kind of race and how they fit into the world? Or do you want something kind of that you don't have to worry about and you'd rather focus on other things? Because maybe they just want to play a human. Maybe that's just simple. It's something they are a human. They understand it, that's fine. If they want something more nuanced, then you could say like, oh, like then you can go into like how the races will fit into the setting or whatever world you're running and what their details are. And then there's a lot of D&D races now too. So you could say, do you want to be something kind of anthropomorphic? Do you want to be something like completely different and strange? Do you want to have ties to other planes of existence? Those sorts of things. Do you just want some mechanical benefits? Like, oh, I want to be able to breathe acid. Like, okay, who knows what they'll say, right? But you'll see what they say. And for classes, I think that is easier because you can just say, you can kind of take them on a decision tree where one is like, do you want to be shooting arrows and other weapons from afar, or do you want to get in close with a sword and shield or carry a big weapon? Do you want to have spells and that sort of stuff? And then based on how they answer, let's say they say spells. You say, all right, so now we have to decide, where does your power come from? Do you have some sort of deity, or have you made a deal that has you've sacrificed something in your life in order to gain power? Or are you bookish and you want to learn more? And you can ask a bunch of questions like that, and you can kind of see like one is warlock, one is wizard, one is cleric. And here's the thing. I played with my sister recently. She's like 15 years old. And my dad was helping her pick a type of character she wanted to play. And they came to the conclusion, what was it? That she wanted to be like a sorcerer because of certain like details in that she wanted to. There's some anime character or something where they say, oh no, it was that Shazam movie, the DC one, and I guess he says like lightning from my hands, and she's like, that's what I want to do. I want to do lightning from my hands, and like some people they just have like these weird like pop culture references, and like I want to do that. And so I said to her and my dad, I said, great, so that makes sense mechanically with the sorcerer, but how about instead we just give you a warlock and we just say you're a sorcerer, but like mechanically you're a warlock, because then you can just Eldritch Blast and we'll just pretend that's your lightning from your hands or whatever. Because I know my sister, and I knew that she would like barely have any attention span to like read how things work or anything. So I was like, simplify. And so just having a few spells and like Eldritch Blast worked really well for her. And sure enough, I made the right call in hindsight. And so you can reflavor things to what new players want, because they don't even know that you're really changing things. You can let them know that you're changing things, but don't think you're like stuck with a certain mechanic to fit the flavor, because you can flavor things however you want to kind of help them get the most out of it. If they want to do lots of reading and figure out how sorcerers work and pick a very few spells and not have like a very strong cantrip or whatever, it all depends. And I know that like you might be like, oh, is warlock that much simpler than sorcerer? In this case it was. I promise it was, and it made sense. I don't remember all the details, but that's my example.
I think that's something that a lot of people are scared to do, is the whole reflavoring things that big. Like I remember playing in a game and I just asked simply to change, I can't remember which way. I think it was Fireball into Frostball or something like that. So literally just changed fire to cold damage. And the DM seemed like really scared to do that, which is a relatively basic, just easy swap. So I imagine if people wanted to like reflavor Eldritch Blast to be lightning or lightning based and reflavor a whole class. Some people would be nervous to do that, but it's a very good point, and you can completely do that. So I think that is a really good point, and that's something to just jump on to what you said there as well. Something I quite like to do is get them to explain or say people from media that they like, characters from media that they like, and then it becomes very clear. You know, if they're saying like, oh, well, I really like Legolas and Katniss Everdeen and stuff like that, you're like, okay, well, you can pay a ranger of some variety, maybe a fighter with a bow, but that helps if they're really struggling. But I think actually what you said there about the classes, about taking them down sort of, I guess you could even make a flowchart, which is like, do you want to be melee or range? Do you want spells or no spells? Do you want holy spells or arcane spells and stuff like that? You could literally just walk them through a flowchart, and I'm sure there's already some out there on the internet that exist. I have just done some digging in my old notes, and I ages ago made this. I think this was in fact for my very first campaign. I made this, which is just a very... Oh, I've just got rid of the thing now. One sec. I moved it to my other screen and it was gone. And it was just a very, very simple spreadsheet, which really has very little details, just to let people know what it is from a very overview level.
Here's
so
the options all in one place.
Yeah, so it's like Barbarian is a tank or damage dealer. If you go through this one, it's melee and you get more range and more. So it's very, very basic. I actually probably wouldn't suggest using this one, so I'm not going to put it out anywhere, because as I said, I think this was the first full campaign I DM'd. I made this to help people, so it's probably pretty trash. But you could make something like this just to give your players, and it wouldn't take too long, just to give your players a little bit of an overview of what type of thing each class and subclass and race is, just from a very quick snapshot.